And AM 1220.
8:39 on this Tuesday. Good morning and welcome to Richard Szerman. Well, how the heck have you been?
Busy. How have you been? I've been
You're
good.
always busy, man. Like, are you going 24/7 or
Yeah.
what? Like, what?
Yeah. Well, I turned insomnia into a work habit. It's basically what
I
it did
mean,
for me. Yeah.
come on. Like, we were talking about some television shows in studio before we went on air.
Yeah.
And I don't even think you know what a TV is, man. Do you even sit down and watch?
I do. That's the irony. I have a lot of them. I'm very fond of televisions. I'm just rarely fond of what is on them.
Gotcha.
Which I think just makes me old.
Which, no.
That's it.
No, you're just picky. I think you're picky.
Well, I still have broadcast television in addition to all the other streaming stuff, and I just sit down and I flip through channels because I'm just of
we
that
all do that.
mindset.
No, I think we all do that. Like, seriously, Delgado, don't you sit down? Like, see, here's what I do too, which is just horrible. And then we'll get on to your zombie seconds. I sit down with my phone. Now, you guys probably do this too. I sit down and I can't decide what I want to watch.
Yeah.
So I'm flipping, and I have every streaming channel there is, okay? And
Yeah.
I'm flipping, and I say, do I want to make that commitment? So it lands on maybe news or something, and then I play with TikTok. Does anyone else do that? Please say you do. Please, okay, Delgado.
News. I'll do the news part. Yeah. I read a lot. I read a lot of news. I lot of kitten videos. I do a lot of kitten videos.
That counts. That counts, even though it's not TikTok. But that's what happens.
It's usually one news, two kitten videos. That's the formula I find that works best for me to help maintain my sanity.
Balance.
Yeah,
it's a balance. So what's happening in the world of Richard Szerman from Radius?
Well, as you know, we do a lot of foreclosure defense for people. We do it for free. That's kind of our thing. Has been for many years.
It is. It's your vibe, man.
It's what I do. It's part of the fun of working 24 hours. But yeah, so I've got one today to talk about. This is the kind of just obscene kind of nonsense that we're seeing on a regular basis now, because whenever a market changes, which is what our market has done here, it went from people making multiple offers on houses are going up by $10,000 to $20,000 in a day, I mean crazy stuff, to the opposite of that, which is not nearly as much fun. And banks, at least in their asset loss departments, seem to be the last ones to be aware of this. They don't get the memo that the market has changed. And they probably should change with it. So what they're doing right now, and I've seen this many times over the 30 plus years I've been doing this. Banks and asset loss just don't get the memo that the market has changed and they haven't adapted to it. So they still think, it's true, they still think that houses are going up in value. And there's no evidence for that whatsoever, but that's kind of the mindset. And because that's the mindset, they make really dumb decisions. And this is a really good example of that. So I brought this one in today. This is for a client of ours who lives here locally. And in his case, we worked out a deal with the bank. And when I say worked out a deal with the bank, they held a gun to our head and said, you can take this or we'll take your house. And we went, sure, we'll take that deal.
Okay.
Because that's the kind of negotiating that's going on.
Isn't that kind of like mob type mentality?
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, that's very much what it is. Dealing with any major bank, mortgage bank in the United States right now is like dealing with the mob. The thing is, the mob's not usually that stupid. I don't have that much experience, maybe just a lot of movies I watch. But I don't think the mob is that stupid, otherwise they'd be in the headlines every day. Whereas the banks are. And this is a spectacular example of this. This is the kind of stupidity. So they go back to this fella and they say, and this is on a second mortgage. So if the first forecloses, they get whatever's left over. Now, there is equity, so that's why they're acting like this. This is a bank called Shell Point, who we've talked about many times before. All of your listeners out there who just heard me say Shell Point, me too, that kind of thing, they all cringe. It's not exactly a name in the mortgage industry that one would be proud of because of the disastrous things that they do. They're pretty awful. But anyway, so this is a good example of Shell Point mentality. So we cut a deal with this guy, and to make a very long story short, he now has to pay, he was paying about $4,000 a month, which is already pretty high. Now he has to pay $8,130.18. That's the deal. $8,130.18 a month.
How do you even do that?
Well, it's either that or lose your house. And so the family that owns this home found a way to do that. They sold off some other stuff, they did some other things, and they found a way to achieve that. They had 30 days in which to do it, and they made the deadline. But here's the thing. Because the deadline fell on the 31st of December, Shell Point has decided that doesn't count. And so now the legal deadline, which and everything else gets forwarded to the next available date, which would have been the 5th. Now they've decided, because they're Shell Point, that they're just going to the day before. So now you have until the 30th, which they didn't tell us until the 29th. Fine. Clients we're getting the money together. They had it. They sent the cashier's check to the bank. This is the important part. They sent the cashier's check to the bank. And I have with me here today the postal record, and I want to just read it to you. The package, it had to be there by the 30th at 5 o'clock.
Got it.
Okay, so it was available for pickup at 11:44 in Dallas, Texas, which is where Shell Point is located.
Got it.
It was available, it's right here, according to available for pickup, 11:44. Nobody bothered to pick it up at Shell Point, I guess. So they didn't actually get it until 5:33 the next day, 12:31. because if you don't pick it up, eventually it just goes to wherever it needs to get to. So they didn't pick it up as they should have. So it got delivered to them on the 31st, which is the day that they sort of took off the calendar. And so now my client, instead of having a deal with ShellPoint that keeps the house, and this is a second that's foreclosing, now they're going to start all over again. Because after all, they didn't get it in by the 30th at 5 o'clock.
Okay, but let's stop right there. Yeah. You've got proof that it was sent and just on, like, what you have proof.
Oh, I know you're going with this. ShellPoint said to us yesterday that the United States Postal Service is not important in deciding when ShellPoint gets a document. They get it when they get it. It's not up to the Postal Service, it's up to ShellPoint. So apparently, in addition to being a mortgage lender, ShellPoint also rides herd on the Postal Service. I don't know that the Postal Service knows this, so ShellPoint should probably tell them. But according to ShellPoint, they didn't get they didn't get it until the 5th, and so all bets are off. We have to start over again. Now, here's the irony to all of this. ShellPoint will cut them another deal because it's in their interest to cut them another deal. They're not going to foreclose when there's money on the table. No, there's more money to be made by cutting a deal with the client. But here's the thing that drives me crazy. Why? Why is ShellPoint going to put the client through this hell? Oh, it took a better part of 6 months to get this far. Why would ShellPoint put the client through the hell of holding a gun to their head and doing this, and then have to say do it over again because we didn't get off our butts to go get the letter, to get the information you sent us, to get the check you sent us? If I don't go to my mailbox to pick it up, that is on me. That is not on the Postal Service, and it's not on the person who sent me the letter. But in the world of ShellPoint, and this is just emblematic of all the banks, it's when they receive it. So it could be sitting in their mailroom, but if it doesn't get checked in, doesn't count, sorry. And even their mailroom says that they got it on the 31st, went to their P.O. box, but they, of course, didn't check it in until the following Tuesday, the 5th or the 6th. So, sorry, too bad, got to start over again. Someone has got to explain the wisdom of this to me, because ShellPoint is also spending money to do this over again. That means they are paying the staff, they are paying appraisers, they are paying everybody, as they did last time around, to do this over again, to collect the same data just 30 days, 40 days later. It's got to be bad for their bottom line. If I were an investor in ShellPoint, I'd be pissed that they handle it this way. That's also true of B of A and every other bank out there that does this.
What do we do to stop this, Richard?
You go on the radio and you say to the public, "This is nonsense," and you talk to the clients and you hire an attorney. In my case, we have attorneys in house. One of them is my wife, so she works for free because, well, if she had the bad sense to marry me, for God's sake, of course she works for free. If charity wasn't her thing, she wouldn't have married me. So this will hopefully not become a lawsuit. We would like to avoid that. But my God, if my client has to sue ShellPoint in order to stay in their home because ShellPoint couldn't accept their payment for 8 hours and then decided 9 hours and then decided that it didn't come in at all, if that's what this has to come down to, my goodness, would that be a waste of the court's time, ShellPoint's time, my client's time? They're going to have to pay. I mean, we do a lot of, my wife, God bless her, does a lot of legal work for free. She's going to kill me for saying that over there, but she does. That's why she married me. But it's still going to cost. I mean, there's still court filing costs, all this good stuff. And we're wasting the court's time. If we have to go through all of that just to get back because ShellPoint couldn't be bothered to accept a letter that was delivered to them, a payment that was delivered to them, that they knew damn well was coming, then I guess that's what we'll have to do.
Okay, I have so many questions, as I always do. How and why are these banks and mortgage companies, why do they feel they need to be so evil?
Fear and incompetence. It's fear. They are the worst expression of corporate culture, I think, because what happens is if you make, well, it's very much like politics. I was once told this by a highly placed state politician because we were waiting for a plane one day. He said that no one gets in trouble for doing nothing. You get in trouble for doing something that isn't popular. And that's kind of the way corporate structures are at a bank. If you work at asset loss at a bank, you check your time cards, you do your thing. As long as you don't make waves, you're good. Oh, sorry, time expired, can't help you, too bad. Now, if I were there, I would take the extra incentive because it's good for the bank, it's good for the public, it's good for everybody involved to say, hey, wait a minute, at worst, we just didn't check this in.
Right.
You know, these guys didn't send it late. We have a cashier's check, we have a signed contract, we have everything we need. We just need to extend it by a couple of days, job done. That's what I would do. But of course, if you do that, and I don't know how the check could bounce because it's a cashier's check or something else happens, the theory is that you are then responsible because you made a stand inside a bank, inside corporate America. If you do that, you are responsible for the stand you are taking. And if it doesn't go well, you'll be looking for a job.
Okay, so as always, we're running out of time, but I have one more question. Did they cash this check?
No, they can't. because actually I shouldn't say that. In California, they can, but they would rather keep up the pressure of the foreclosure than they would accept the check. So they didn't.
Do you suggest...
They're still holding it, by the way. They haven't sent it back either, which they're supposed to do.
Since the 5th?
Yeah.
Today's the 24th.
Yeah, mail is really slow out of Texas, apparently.
Well, again, can't do anything
Can't
about
receive it, can't send it. I don't know if the U.S. Postal Service has a problem with this particular address at Shell Point in Texas. I couldn't tell you, but they apparently do. I don't think it's the Postal Service, though. I think it's Shell Point. That's just me.
Well, yeah, I mean, clearly it is, because we have proof that it was there.
Yeah.
Able
All
to be
of your
picked
listeners
up
right now who have a Shell Point mortgage are going, oh, yeah, of course.
But that's what I want to ask. If you have a mortgage or a second mortgage or any dealings with Shell Point, do you suggest they get the heck out of there? And if you can, refinance or something.
But you have no control. First of all, their mortgage was pretty good. Even as a rework mortgage is pretty good. Interest rates have spiked. They went up from 3.5% to over 6%. They were touching 7% here for a while. Now they've rolled back down. So they're almost double what they were to begin with. So you can't just refi out because your payment would be much, much higher. So you're sort of stuck. And also, there's no guarantee. You could pick a bank you like that is the sunniest, best bank in the whole wide world, refinance your house. You love the people working there. You love the way they handle their mortgage. And they could sell your mortgage tomorrow on the secondary market. You have no control whatsoever.
That's true.
You can say, I like B of A, take up your mortgage there, and your mortgage is sold to Shell Point or somebody else, and now you're stuck with these guys. Or worse, Shell Point is not even close to the worst ones we deal with. They're bottom feeders who are far worse than Shell Point, if it's hard to believe it's true.
It is hard. It's hard to believe the stories that you come in with all the time. Richard, we're out of time. We've got to talk. How do people get in touch with you? Because this is what you deal with. You literally, I'm going to say 24/7 because you have no fun in life.
That's not true.
This is what you do.
I like what I'm doing right now. I enjoy my life a lot. I work with wonderful people. I get to work with great clients. I come and solve their problems for free. Who doesn't want to be me?
What's your phone number?
My phone number, 661-714-1400. That's 661-714-1400. That is my personal cell phone number. It's not a special business line or anything. That is my personal cell phone number. I will answer it even at Disneyland. That's a true story. And I'm happy to help. If you got a problem, even if it's just a question, just feel free to ask.
Yeah.
We do this for free. We do this as a public service. We've been doing it for, 30 years. Sell some real estate as well, which is what pays for all of this. But we do it for free. It is completely free of charge. The only agenda I have is to try to help the client. That's it. I am very much on the side of the client, and unfortunately for the banks, not on the side of the bank. And I win a lot more than I lose. So if you're having a problem, just call me. The sooner you call, the sooner we get it fixed, the happier your life's going to be.
Richard, thank you as always.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.